to Cooking for Health, the Fall Edition. I'm Dr. Mary DiBartolo, Professor of Nursing at Salisbury University and host of the program. I'm joined by my usual partner in crime, Katie Dorsch. You're a registered dietitian, and you're the outpatient dietitian for Atlantic General Hospital.
That's right. Thank you for having me again.
And thank you for coming. And this time, I think we're doing some fall recipes.
Yeah, we thought, you know, 'tis the season. Let's make some good fall-specific recipes. So today we're going to be making a pumpkin pie smoothie.
Nice.
One I've been enjoying myself for breakfast this week. And then we're going to make a creamy goat cheese pasta with Brussels sprouts.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, let's get started. We're doing the smoothie first.
Yeah, we're going to do the smoothie really quick. It only takes a few minutes. So we're going to start with frozen banana. So we have a whole frozen banana. Usually I buy bananas, let them ripen, and then I'll break them up into 4 pieces and freeze them. So I just grabbed 4 pieces from my whole banana.
That's a great idea. Even for a banana that's starting to turn and you don't quite want to eat it, you can dice it up and freeze it.
Yeah,
For
it
a
freezes
convenience
really
meal.
well for smoothies and these kinds of things. So we've got our whole banana. Next we're going to use a 1/2 cup of canned pumpkin. This is just plain canned pumpkin. You want to be careful because in the aisle with the pumpkin, there's canned pumpkin and there's also pumpkin pie filling, which comes already sweetened and flavored. So we're just using the plain canned pumpkin.
And that is so good for you, isn't it?
It is. It's got tons of fiber. It's got a lot of vitamin A. That's where that orange color comes from. So just a really great vegetable to use. So we're going to scoop that in here. And next we're going to just use some vanilla yogurt. This is about a 1/2 cup. I just grabbed a little container. Save us some measuring this morning. You could also use some plain Greek yogurt, but you might want to add a little sweetener like some maple syrup to sweeten it up a little bit.
So that gives you what? Some protein, some probiotics?
Yep, you get some protein. It's also going to lend a good creaminess to the smoothie. And those good probiotics that are good for our gut health. Next, we're going to add about a tablespoon of our almond butter. About a tablespoon. And then lastly, we're going to add about a 1/2 cup of milk. This is just regular milk. You could certainly use non-dairy milk if that was your preference.
And that's 1% low fat.
Yeah.
So.
This is 1% milk. Again, whatever your normal preference is for milk. And then we're going to add a little bit of pumpkin pie spice. So pumpkin pie spice has cinnamon. It's also got those other seasonings like nutmeg, allspice, already mixed in there. So
The flavors of fall.
the flavors of fall. This is what we think of when we think of fall. So I'm going to add 1/2 of a teaspoon of that pumpkin pie spice. And that's it. Those are all of our ingredients.
I put flaxseed, ground flaxseed in mine. Could you add things like that? Or
Sure.
a little turmeric or something? That's what I usually add to my smoothies.
Yeah, you could definitely add some of those flax seeds. That'll give you some of those good omega-3s, those healthy fats. If you wanted to add something like hemp seeds or hemp hearts, those will add a little extra protein to it.
Can you put chia seeds in there?
Yep.
I know some people use those.
Chia seeds as well will blend up really nicely. Again, another good source of those healthy fats. So we are just going to flip this over and put it on our blender and blend just until smooth. All right. Now
I've
this-
never had a pumpkin smoothie. I make all kinds of smoothies at home, never pumpkin. So I'm inspired.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really think about it. You know, we're so used to pumpkin just being in pie and things like that.
I know I use it in soups, you know,
Sure.
as a substitute for butternut squash. And
So this usually makes a good, you know, generous serving for one. But since there's 2 of us, I'll share.
I appreciate that. Looks good, just the right consistency too.
Of course, if you wanted it a little thinner, you could add a little more milk to it as well.
All right. Cheers.
Happy Thanksgiving.
That's really good. Something really different than the fruity smoothie or.
Yep, it tastes like fall in a cup.
That's delicious.
Thank you.
So now we're on to the goat cheese pasta with Brussels.
Yes, this is one of my favorite fall dishes. It's just really creamy and light and uses a lot of seasonal produce.
And I think the recipe said 30 minutes, so that means it's pretty quick to make.
It is. It's a very quick meal, comes together quickly, good for a weeknight. So we're going to start with our Brussels sprouts. Here I've already thinly sliced some of our Brussels sprouts. I used a food processor with the slicing blade here. Of course, if you didn't have a food processor, you could take a Brussels. We're going to cut the root end off. Cut this in half, and then thinly slice with our knife.
You make that look so easy.
We could certainly also, if you had a mandolin slicer, use that with either a cutting glove or the guard, of course, being careful of your fingers. So we have a pan. It's warmed up pretty nicely over here. We're going to add a little bit of the oil from the jar of sun-dried tomatoes. So obviously this oil is going to be really infused with the flavor of those tomatoes.
About a tablespoon?
Yep, about a tablespoon. And then we're going to add to this, we have a mix here of some shallots, minced garlic, and a few red pepper flakes.
And we'll be posting the links to these recipes at the end of the program so people can get the amounts and such.
Sure, there will be full instructions for everybody to check out. Next, we're going to add our Brussels sprouts. We're going to want to saute all of this together.
Brussels sprouts are so good this time of year.
They are. They're definitely in season. Usually you can find them on sale in the grocery store too, which is always helpful.
Yes.
So we're just tossing this together to get some of that good flavor from the oil mixed in with everything.
It always smells so good with the garlic and the shallots.
It is. People will be wondering what you're cooking. So we're going to let that saute for just a few minutes. The rest of our ingredients for this pasta here, we have some of those sun-dried tomatoes from the jar. And these are just thinly sliced. It's about a half a cup. We are also going to make a sauce out of some lemon juice and lemon zest. We've already cooked our pasta, and we have some of the reserved pasta water here. So a cup of that. And then we're going to blend that all up with just 4 ounces of goat cheese. So just a log of goat cheese like you would find in the grocery store. So we're going to blend those things together to make a sauce.
So we're adding some salt and pepper, and you can add more chili flakes if you want, right?
Yeah,
Red pepper flakes, if you
can
like it.
definitely add those to taste if you like things really spicy. I kept it a little mild for us today.
It's always best to go mild. You can always add later. That's my credo.
So it looks like that looks good.
Yeah, it does. Looks great, smells great.
You know, we just want them to be a little brown, just a little bit soft, but not too soft. So we can go ahead and turn that off. So we're going to add our pasta cooking water. This is something I am constantly forgetting to save from my pot of pasta.
Dump the water and forget that you needed some. Yeah, I usually have to like underline that in a recipe somewhere to remind myself.
Make sure I tell myself the right thing. So we're just going to add this whole log of goat cheese.
Do you know what one of my sayings is?
What's that?
Everything is better with goat cheese.
I agree.
I love goat cheese.
Gives a nice tangy flavor to everything. We're going to add a little bit of salt here. This is about a half a teaspoon of kosher salt, and a little bit of pepper, about a quarter teaspoon rather, of pepper. So we're going to put this.
I have never put goat cheese in a blender.
Yeah.
I never thought of that, but that's a nice idea.
So we're just going to put this in the blender and blend our sauce.
That didn't take long.
It doesn't take long. You can see it turns out a very thin sauce, but we're going to cook this together with our finished pasta and our Brussels, and it'll come together really nicely. So we're going to take our Brussels off the heat, and we're going to grab our cooked pasta. So you could really use any kind of shape that you wanted, but I got this cavatappi pasta, which is kind of like a corkscrew almost. It's just a really fun shape.
It is. It's good with macaroni salad too.
Yes.
With that.
Excellent.
I like it. It seems to hold the ingredients onto it better because of the corkscrew shape.
Yeah. So that's the pasta that we used for today. So we have our pasta that we already cooked. We just put this back in the pot. And then we are going to add our sauce.
It is rather thin. Does it thicken up some?
Yep, it'll all come together once it all heats together. So we have our sauce, and we're going to add our Brussels sprouts. And then lastly, we have our sliced sun-dried tomatoes that we're going to toss in there as well. And we're just going to stir this together.
Is it on low or medium heat?
We have it just on a medium heat. We don't need it to go super high here. We don't want to boil our sauce. We're just kind of gently heating it through with everything. So we'll give this a couple minutes to cook through.
So while we're waiting, tell us about the nutritional benefits of the Brussels sprout.
So Brussels sprouts, of course, they're a non-starchy vegetable. They have a lot of fiber in them, like most fruits and vegetables, which is something most of us don't get quite enough of. They can also help, especially with our blood sugar management, including those higher fiber foods with our meals. So we have, of course, a lot of pasta, carbohydrate-rich noodles here. So that fiber is going to help kind of balance out the pasta pretty nicely.
Are those grain pastas you see now on the shelves, are they helpful alternative or don't make that much of a difference?
Yeah,
I've always wondered.
Yeah, they make lots of different pastas these days. You know, there's red lentil pasta, there's whole wheat pasta, there is chickpea pasta. So, of course, those pastas can sometimes be lower in carbohydrates, a little bit higher in protein and fiber. So they can be good alternatives if you prefer the flavor. So it really depends on what you're pairing it with and what your preferences are.
Well, I'm married to an Italian, so we go traditional pasta. I could not bring a different kind of pasta into the house. So I'm used to having regular old pasta, but I don't need a ton of it, so.
I agree.
It can be filling.
Usually prefer regular pasta myself, so that's typically what I use. But those alternatives can be a great option, especially for someone with celiac disease who can't eat gluten. So you can see after just a couple minutes of cooking, our sauce has really thickened up and coated our Brussels sprouts and our pasta.
Can't wait to try it. It looks delicious.
Yep. So we can go ahead and turn this off. Again, everything's already cooked, so we're really just kind of warming it through. course, if you wanted to add a little extra red pepper flake here, you could.
I always like to try it first to see how spicy it is before I add more.
Right, it's easier
That's-
to add than it is
Exactly.
to take out.
Same with salt and pepper. You should always try it first.
Right.
All right.
We do also,
Ooh.
almost forgot our basil over here.
A little basil on top. Nice.
If you had some pine nuts or some walnuts, they would also be a good addition here.
Add some crunch.
Exactly, a little extra texture.
That is very good. Between the goat cheese and the lemon juice, it has a bit of a tang to it.
It gives it a nice bright flavor. Not too heavy, which some creamy pastas tend to be.
Well, thank you so much for sharing these delicious fall recipes with us. And we'll post the links to the recipes at the end of the program so our viewers can check them out and print them out, which is what I did. So I
Yeah.
have both these recipes ready to try for the fall. So terrific.
Well, thank you for having me again, Mary.
And of course, thank you to Mac for allowing us to use their kitchen area, which we've gotten quite accustomed to these days.
Yes.
And thank you for joining us for Cooking for Health here on Pack 14.